I am the Personalized Learning Project Manager, and I brought along today with me Miss Hudson, who is one of our coaches, and Miss Moss, who's operating the video for us today. She's also a coach. And then Miss Fowler, who you know goes into our classrooms and does some coaching too. So we heard that you all were starting a project-based learning unit. So do you guys know about that yet? Have you talked about that? No. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to have what's called a launch, an entry event that that sparks your interest in what you're going to be studying. So that's what we're going to do first. And after we watch the video clip, then you guys, raise your hands if you can tell me how many of you have never been to a museum. It's okay, you've never been to a museum. Okay, so you guys are going to get to take a virtual tour of a natural history museum in Washington, D.C. What do I mean by virtual? Raise your hand. Look at it
through a computer.
Yeah, through a computer. Okay, so it's not real life, like you're not physically going there, but you're going there through a video experience. So it's like walking through the museum as if you were there physically with your body. Okay, so hopefully you'll get some insight into that. So those are two things that we're going to do today. And the first thing that we're going to do is watch a video clip. I guess I should wait for Miss Fowler. Yeah. At the museum. Okay, so what I want you to do in this clip is, this is just going to spark our discussion about what you guys are going to be doing today. So as Mr. Osmore pulls that video up, I just want you to pay close attention to what you see, to the people in the clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that in just
Got a job interview with Cecil Fredericks.
For you in the right direction.
Great. Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
He was our 4th president, right?
26.
26.
This is the kid who wants to be the new night guard.
He looks like a weirdie.
So when you think of a museum, is this normally what you think about? No. But wouldn't that be awesome to be able to have that? Yes. It depends on if you're the security guard at night by yourself.
I'm scared.
Right? Okay.
I'm scared.
So when we think of a museum, what kind of things did you see in that particular clip that you noticed are parts of a museum typically? What did you notice?
I saw a skeleton of a dinosaur.
Okay, so the skeleton or like fossil. Okay, what else?
I saw 26th president things.
Yeah, it was like a display of the president, but he didn't know. And so, what did you see? What he, or was there any information that could correct that for him that he could have looked at while he was in the museum?
The sign.
There was some signage. Very good. What else? The little models, right? So they're not life-size things, but they're little replicas that are scaled to size. All right, what else?
Things from the past.
Things from the past. So historical things, right?
Dinosaurs, the present, pioneers.
Pioneers. And all of those things are from the past, right? Awesome. All right, what did you notice?
I noticed it was like a whale, like a little whale.
Like a fish. Okay. So, I mean, there were a variety of different things, right? What did you notice?
I noticed some animals like
animals that doesn't look like these type of animals these days, but different animals that look different.
So they were prehistoric, and so they did. Some of them no longer exist, and some of them actually have modified and changed and evolved throughout history.
This dark one is enlarged.
And remember, we're just noticing, we're not discussing right now. You're gonna break, if you see something that helps you think of how you might organize in your museum, then you can jot that idea down. But you're gonna have a chance to talk when you communicate and collaborate in your groups in just a second. Talk about a driving question. And who all in here has used, or you've seen your parents use a GPS? Okay, so somebody just share by raising your hand what a GPS does.
A GPS lets you know where you want to go to your destination.
Perfect. It lets you know or shows you how to go to your destination. Well, guess what? In this unit for your social studies, we're going to use a driving question. And that driving question is going to lead us to our destination. It's going to guide us along the way. So I'm going to underline that, and even put a star by that, because we're going to keep coming back to this question. Now we're going to look at the question, we're going to dissect it. Who can tell me what that word means, to dissect, when you dissect something?
Dissecting is like going deep inside it.
Okay, so go deep inside. Anybody else think of what dissect means?
I would like to add what you said, when you say deep inside it, to like look for context and clues.
Okay, look for clues, look for context. Anybody else know what dissect means? How many of you have ever seen someone or heard of someone dissecting like a frog or an animal? Okay, so what do I do when I dissect, Noah?
You like get, like it's kind of like gutting a deer, you get all the meat out of it to eat it.
Ooh, I like it. We're going to get
that was a
all
good
the
comparison.
meat out of this. We're going to look at some words and take them apart and try to understand exactly what this question is saying. And I need a volunteer to be our Google expert. Okay? So you're going to need to get a laptop, open it up, and when I ask you to go look up a word, you're going to use your laptop and look up the word, and you're going to be our Google expert. Now tell me your name. Anthony. Okay, bring your laptop over. You are officially the Google expert for the day.
My goodness.
All right, so here we go. Here's our question. Why don't we read it together, and then we'll talk about each part, okay? So let me get my, I brought my little, I have a little pointer finger that just kind of brings everybody's attention to the words that are, okay? Not that this goes with me, I hope, but anyway, my monster finger, I'll call it my monster finger. So let's go word by word and let's read it. How can we, as museum curators, convey the impact the Civil War had on our nation? Now what we're going to do is we're going to take apart each part of that. So does everyone know what a museum is? Okay. Tell me what you think a museum is.
A museum is like something that you see, like things that you want to find.
Okay, so it has things you want to find or learn about.
A museum is a place where you go if you want to learn about history.
Awesome. Just like we just observed in our video clip. You just saw a clip of a museum. Anything else that you want to tell me about a museum?
A museum is a place where you can go in history and learn about it, and where you can learn about anything in history and know about it. And sometimes there's stuff that's not in history.
Okay, stuff. I love how he said stuff. Is there another word that would describe the stuff that you find in a museum?
Historical things.
Okay, historical things. I'm looking for another word. See if you have that word in your vocabulary.
Historical objects.
Historical objects.
The history.
Okay, the history. I'm looking for the word artifact. An artifact is, exactly, it's the stuff inside a museum. It's some of the objects that you might find. So the museum houses all of that information. It houses info and objects and artifacts and drawings and paintings and videos, lots of things like that. Okay, let's look. So how can we, as museum curators, now there's a word that we might not know, so my Google expert, if you will look up this word, C-U-R-A-T-O-R-N-S with being plural, but you can just look up curator.
But also,
and then I want some information.
yeah,
Ms.
do you
Fowler?
remember when I think it was you earlier said use context clues?
Oh, I love it. Look at our Google definition and tell us what impact the definition.
Yeah. Can I see what I think?
Have you looked at the definition yet? Okay, sure, share that.
You know how the cause is that something hit a meteor. The effect is it hits the earth.
Okay, so when a meteor is
Yeah.
going through the air and it hits the earth, you think that's what impact is? Okay, let's share the definition and see if we can choose the right one for our driving question. Okay, will you read that for us real loud?
The action of one object coming forcibly into contract with another.
Okay, so that's the definition that talks about this. Look, boom. Is that what we're talking about here? Okay, let's see if we have another definition that fits a little better.
Okay, so there's two.
Mm-hmm.
What about this one?
Have a strong effect on someone or something.
Okay, I heard that word that several of you used. What was it? Effect. Okay. So an impact, as we're talking about it here in our driving question, is the effect. Okay, and so Civil War, you kind of know a little bit about that. We're going to talk more about that. Had on our nation. And we know, what are we talking about when we say nation?
United States.
Yeah, the United States, here, America, where we live today. Okay, so now let's go back and let's see if we can use the words that we found to help us really understand what this driving question means, okay? How can we as museum collectors or keepers of artifacts and information communicate the effect the Civil War had on our nation? Hey, doesn't and you read it. But when you get to a level 2, you have to apply that. So I have to take that definition and then apply it so I can make sense of something. When you go to a level 3, then you're trying to reason through, you're comparing, contrasting, there's more explaining. And then level 4 would be taking all that you've learned and then maybe writing a paper or creating some kind of product that uses all of that information. And then I've got some questions that we're going to look at when we break into groups in a minute. So we're going to let you ask some questions that we're going to need to know. You're going to give those questions to me. As we study the impact the Civil War had on our nation, there's some things that we're going to need to know about that. So I want you to think about the types of questions. You may have some questions that we just have to look it up and we get the fact. But you might also have some questions about how we compare and contrast things that either happened during the Civil War or maybe uniforms or lots of other things. I'm not going to guide you too much because I want to hear your questions first, but then we'll talk about those levels as we go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put some chart paper up, and we are going to develop what we call our needs to know list. What is it that we need to know